With the recent release of Princess Peach Showtime, I can't help but wonder what's next for Nintendo. I mean, sure, we have Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door coming out in May, and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD coming out in June, but besides that, there's nothing. And I'm not even exaggerating either. If you go to Nintendo's official schedule on their website, they literally have 3 games, and one of which isn't really even a Nintendo first-party game. So what, is Nintendo just not releasing any games besides that this year? Well, I can't answer that for sure, but I can absolutely speculate what they might announce in the upcoming months. But first, why has nothing been announced so far besides these games? Are they really trying to hide something big from us? A lot of people have been wondering, well, if they're not going to announce any games for the Switch, that must mean the Switch 2 is coming, and yeah, it is. As for when, I don't know, it could be the holidays, it could be spring next year. But what matters most is that we know that the current generation of Switch is on its way out, and that probably means we aren't getting any huge titles anymore. To expect something like another Mario game or even a Pokemon game is just irrational, and that's why I've seen a lot of talk on the internet that we literally might not get anything until the next generation. But to be honest, I really don't buy that. I mean, why would Nintendo leave the entire year blank? They could at least put out something to keep the money coming in. As great as Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is gonna do, and especially The Thousand Year Door, I really don't know how much interest that's going to garner for Nintendo as a whole. I mean, to be fair, Nintendo isn't the only company that's a bit unknown when it comes to what they're gonna be doing for the rest of the year. It's just, I don't know, I feel like we're getting to the point where at least we could get a Nintendo Direct or something, but no, we haven't seen anything like that. The most we got is a Nintendo Partner Showcase, but that's not Nintendo really, that's their partners. I mean, I feel like we should be getting something like a Direct to announce a game that could release during the holidays at least, and who knows, maybe they'll release one soon. But to be honest, I don't know if they're gonna do a Direct for anything besides an announcement of the Switch 2 or whatever the system is called. I mean, personally, I don't mind whether or not we get another release from Nintendo in the upcoming months, because to be honest, well, I want to save my money for the new console and the new games. Before we get into the more out there predictions, I definitely have some ideas that are more probable than the others. Number 1, I think we can certainly expect a few more games to pop up on the Switch Online emulators. I think the most probable one is Super Smash Bros. For the N64. I know some people have been expecting something like a GameCube emulator on here, but no, I don't think that's gonna happen. I also see a lot of people thinking that the classic Pokemon games will be coming to the console, but again, I don't think that's happening. In fact, I made a whole video about why it's probably not. As for something a little bit more likely to happen, the Zelda games, specifically Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, are due to be ported onto the Switch, and I'm talking about their HD versions, of course. Currently, these 2 games are stuck on the Wii U, and of course, nobody has a Wii U really, so they're quite difficult to play without emulators. And considering we already have Skyward Sword on the Switch, I think it's only natural that we get these 2 games. These are titles that aren't really going to conflict much with any new console that comes out, especially if it's backwards compatible, so I definitely see these games releasing this year on the Switch. But of course, this is all speculation because they could just not do anything that I predict. I mean, some people say we'll get Pikmin 4 DLC, Mario Wonder DLC, and even a new Metroid Prime, but I don't know, anything could happen. I will say it is very, very likely that the next Direct we do get will be very future focused, not really short term, especially considering that Pokemon has already announced their new game. A game which we can tell is going to be very large, presumably, and will require better hardware than usual, you know, so we don't get an experience like the launch of Scarlet and Violet. So yeah, if you asked me a couple months ago if I thought Pokemon was gonna have a place in this year, I would have said, yeah, we'll get Black and White remakes in the holidays, but I don't think that's gonna happen anymore. As for the actual launch of whatever the Switch 2 is, I can definitely predict that a lot better than anything else this year. I can definitely say we're going to be getting another 3D Mario game. I mean, it's been 7 years since Odyssey came out. I also think it's not a horrible idea to give us another Mario Kart and even a Mario Party on release. I mean, you just need that family style game with every console. A lot of people really want another 2D Zelda game to come out next year, and I think it's possible, but that might be more of a mid-Switch 2 lifespan thing. It just seems like, I don't know, they wouldn't release Tears of the Kingdom and the next 2D Zelda so close to each each other, but hey, I could be wrong. And of course, a lot of Metroid fans are really anticipating Metroid Prime 4. I'm not much of a Metroid fan myself, but hey, I'm rooting for you guys if you are. I think wherever Nintendo decides to go this year in terms of games for the current generation, they should be really careful. I remember when Breath of the Wild first came out and it had two versions, one on the Wii U and one on the Switch. Now I don't think this really hurt the sales of the Switch version at all, but I don't know, I'm just really worried that if they do something like that, but it's like the Switch to the Switch 2, it won't have the same good results. I also think about the stigma of current gen versus next gen. I mean, if you look at something like the PS5, they have been calling the current generation, which is the PS5, next gen for years. And if you ask me, I feel like it would be better if everyone knew that the new Switch is the one you want. The old Switch is completely inferior, and in order to experience games in the best way possible, you need the new one. But it's also an unfortunate situation, because if you look at the catalog that the Switch has, it really makes you want to just make a Switch 2, so everyone can just play their old games on better hardware. I also think it's really important to consider that if we're going to pay $400 for a new Switch console, this has to be like revolutionary. It can't just be like, a little bit better graphics here, a little bit more games there. It has to bring something new, like a lot. But the problem is I just don't know how they're going to do it. How are they going to avoid another Wii U situation where everybody's not really sure if this is a new console or not? But obviously Nintendo has people who've already figured this out. I'm just a little concerned. I mean, we haven't heard anything from Nintendo. No directs, no tweets, nothing about the Switch 2. Being in the dark like this, where we have no games for the current generation being announced and nothing about the next generation, it just feels unsettling. So hopefully this video kind of speaks into existence an announcement from Nintendo, even if it's just a little tiny one, saying that, yeah guys, we do have something in the works, by the way. I mean, as a consumer, it really helps to know when you're going to have to spend $400 on a new console. But I don't know, what do you guys think? What are your official predictions for 2024? Because I don't really know. A lot of this video is just speculating, and I know what I want, but I don't really know if we're gonna get it. Anyway guys, if you could please like the video, that would mean so much to me, and I will see you in the next one.